And so, but what's really cool is that the Bhagavad Gita, it's all about like Arjuna surrendering to Krishna, you know, and Krishna explaining to Arjuna that all he has to do is surrender unto him. And so it's just another form of teaching them to surrender in a way that's actually going to have results. So ultimately, it's taking them, bringing them into the present moment by helping them release the past, any painfulness from the past, and releasing any expectations of the future based on fear and anxiety. And that's the process. That's how I help them come to calm, clear minds. And then they get to work on things that actually make them happy in life. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
All right, Coach Ivy, thank you so much for being on the show today. It's great to have you. You have your cool TikTok channel there where you seem to be doing tarot readings, but you also have this interesting saying that is you help people exit their new age illusions and enter into Krishna consciousness. And a lot of people might be asking themselves, what's all that mean? But before we get into that, why don't we just start with you? Maybe you can describe or explain yourself to our audience a little bit more about who you are and how you got into this place.
Yeah, sure. So I am a loving devotee of Lord Krishna. I found myself in this place. Well, it was not inherited. I did not come from a family. I actually grew up Mormon. And it was about 5 years ago that this happened. I suddenly found out that my fiance had passed away. He had committed suicide.
Oh,
And so the night that I found out, uh, the world was like, it was really still. And I felt moved to open the Bhagavad Gita. And when I opened it to a page that it explains that you shouldn't lament. And it was then it then talked about the Hare Krishna mantra. And so I read the Hare Krishna mantra. And Krishna, he said to me, it's when I heard Krishna's voice. He said to me, if you become my devotee, I will give both you and Gregory liberation. And I'm looking back, and it sounds like the most intense, dramatic story that there ever was. And it really was at the time. But what's so lovely about Krishna is that he kind of eventually makes everything, you can see it like with humor. So all of that really led up to here. So it's like the next 5 years I spent studying the Bhagavad Gita. It's all I really did. I was just Krishna this, Krishna that, Gita this. And I did tarot card readings for about 3 years. And in the first so this was five. So in the first 3 years, it was all tarot. And I kept meeting people that were going through very similar situations, people who were going through spiritual awakenings. And I just started to notice that the Bhagavad Gita had answers to these questions that they were proposing to themselves. I met my coach about 2.5 years ago, and I unintentionally fell into coaching because he suggested that I sold my tarot card readings in packages. And so I tried it out, and I didn't realize it, but it started to it brought everything together. All of it ended up coming together. I didn't realize that New Ageism was a problem until I started to work with a lot of people. And then person after person started coming to me with the same problems. And then I wasn't allowed to, Krishna asked me to not watch other people's videos for a few years. So, like, I wasn't watching other tarot card reader videos. I wasn't watching anything on New Ageism, anything like that. And when I finally did, I remember crying because it was just so not at all what I had been learning with him. I was very surprised, and I was seeing why people were coming to me so messed up. But I during this time, it was so interesting too because I didn't know what people were talking about on TikTok, but everyone was coming to me with the same problems. The same ones, like the same, every single one of them somehow were coming to me with the same story, the same like need.
I maybe you could talk a little bit more about that need and the way that they were coming to you. Like, what were they? What was this need?
Most of them had been separated from their twin flame, is what they call it. And they had been separated from what they call their divine masculine.
Uh-huh.
And they wanted to come back into union with them. And I had gone through something very similar. At that time, I knew I wasn't, it was very strange because I thought I had a twin flame um, a few years ago. And when people would come to me with theirs, though, Krishna, because I do all my readings completely surrendered. So when I do a reading, I offer myself first, I do a ritual first, I surrender to Krishna, and I don't do or say anything that my Lord does not instruct me to do or say. So I was not allowed to even like use terms like divine masculine, divine feminine, twin flame. If they came to me saying that they had one, I couldn't be like, oh, me too, I'm going through this. And I didn't get why. But now I understand he was teaching me how to help people. Um, but they would come to me and they would come. I've had people come to me suicidal. I've had people come to me just like their whole lives had just fallen apart because they couldn't get back into union with their twin flame. I don't know if you're familiar with the twin flame theory.
Is it have to do with like destined relationships?
It's worse. I mean, I believe in destined relationships. Like my friend Isaac, I swear I've known him my whole entire existence. But twin flame, the theory is that there is someone that is the other half of your soul, and that you incarnate in two different bodies, and that one of them, and that when you meet that, like it's like the cosmos come together, and you've never met anyone like them before, and that like it's a huge crazy meeting, and that they mirror you, and that when you meet them you'll start seeing signs and synchronicities, and that they start your awakening journey, and then they ghost you and leave your life forever.
What
I'm
the
not
hell?
forever.
Every time?
Yeah, every
Really?
time. No, really,
Why?
every time. So they ghost you. This is why it's such a phenomenon. Like this is why it's so crazy. Every single one of them. This is the story.
Hmm.
They ghost them and don't explain why. And then they supposedly go on a journey to come back into union. And it's up to the divine feminine, who ironically, a lot of them ended up being men. Like a lot of them were men who came to me saying they were the divine feminine. It was so cute. They'd be like, I'm the divine feminine. They'd come to me and they'd say that they're divine masculine or their runner twin had left them and didn't tell them why. And it's horrible. Yeah, they all
Oh,
get ghosted. And so the idea is to do enough shadow work, do enough inner work to a point where you can attract your twin flame back into your life or manifest them back into your life.
so there's like a bunch of things that like I'm interested in here because there's so much heaviness here, like real shit that I think a lot of people it's just like immediately pulling their heartstrings. Like your origin story before you picked up the Bhagavad Gita, do your followers know about that? That like your fiance passed and then this is how you fell into it? Does everyone know about that, or is this like a
Well, I did briefly touch on it in my interview, my last interview,
yeah,
and but besides that, no, I try to not share too much about it
yeah.
because I like to make it about the person that I'm coaching or about
Yeah.
the other people, and so I haven't. No, I don't really stress about it too much. I don't stress it too much.
Right. But that's a powerful origin to get into this stuff. And then the types of stuff that you're dealing with these twin spirit people, you're like so equipped, seems like empathetically to like navigate that area. But how did you have a Bhagavad Gita already? Like, what do you say to people that don't like have a Bhagavad Gita within arm's reach when, you know what I mean? Because that's such a pivotal moment, is all I'm
Yeah,
trying to
it
focus
was
on here.
I love your questions. Thank you. It was huge. It was actually his mother who had given me a Bhagavad Gita. He
Oh, snap.
yeah, right. And
Yeah.
his mother had worked with Devametrius Swami, um, who is a Swami known to spread Krishna consciousness. Um, and it was Greg's uncle. I'll have to show you. He wrote the book Living in Material Happiness. And so she was working with him after like 40 years of him not being in her life. It was actually really insane because she was the one who, I mean, I was alone the night I found out. And she, later on, she blamed me for him unaliving himself. She told me basically it was my fault.
Oh,
And so while going through this, like, Krishna was taking me through a process of trying to like unteach me from believing I was the reason he was gone. So ironically, yeah, it was her that had given it to me. I really thought she was like my spiritual teacher. I thought she was like my guru because she did yoga and she showed me tarot and she had showed me all of these things that I believed made someone godly. And then she did a lot of really awful stuff
sometimes
afterwards.
spiritual people have no, they're not like normal people, and they say really offside shit. Take it from me, king offside shit. It's just I've noticed that, like, not always, like some people, especially the people that do really well, they've got a certain degree of tact, but a lot of time they're just kind of like blah. They'll just like say what they're thinking. You know what I mean?
I
I
think
don't know.
it's also kind
Sometimes.
of like, I mean, who doesn't want to be that lady, that holistic lady, vegan lady that everyone looks to for spiritual guidance and yoga? I think it's like a matter of also however someone wants to present themselves. But
Mm-hmm.
at the same time, I don't know what it's like to lose a child. So her reaction as far as blaming me is something that I really can't hold against her anymore. Maybe also because honestly, I'm so grateful that she gave me the Gita and that she
Right.
introduced me to Krishna.
Right. Right.
Like without, I mean, so it's a bittersweet thing. Without her, I really wouldn't have
Yeah.
any of this. You actually brought up something that I didn't even think about. Yeah, with it being heavy. Well, it's because when people are coming to me with this twin flame like separation, they you can feel like people's emotions when you're working with them. I'm not like an empath or anything like that. But when you're in devotional service, you will mirror them and kind of experience their emotions with you as one. And I was like, wow, this feels like grief. Like this feels like the kind of grief that I go through that I've been through. And I
Mm.
thought it was so strange because I know that it hurts when people are broken up with. But this was different. I mean, this was different. These were people, all of these people were in isolation somehow. All of these people said that no one understood them except for other people on TikTok. There are a lot of qualities that they shared that were so similar to me in grief.
Yeah. Grief
Yeah.
definitely is like in the realm of loss. And so many people, what I mean, there's obviously differences between losing someone's like life out of they're gone. But definitely a breakup can make people feel that same like that like cloud of grief over them, a breakup. In fact, sometimes they're like knowing they're out there and you're still without them can be its own head game. But grief, I imagine, can come from like just severe failure, losing like, you know what I mean? Like failing at some endeavor or losing a job opportunity or something like that. Um, to people that just don't see eye to eye anymore, that don't talk to each other anymore. It's loss. It's in the realm of like, there's a vacuum here now and it's heavy, and how do we cope with it? I feel like,
There's something a little deeper even than just the grief. It's trauma. So with the kind of loss that I went through, he was just gone. You know, it's a very traumatic experience. These people that are going through this so-called twin flame journey and they're being ghosted, they're just gone. And I think that's what's really creating trauma. I don't know if you've ever looked, if you look up the psychological effects of someone ghosting you, it's horrible. It's very mortifying. People experience things similar to someone like losing someone they love,
Hmm.
and it really can make them go crazy. And so what they're doing then is they're spiritualizing this very traumatic experience, and people are going on. So this is a loop that's happening, basically. Now that I can read these readings, like now, like it's, now I can watch people's readings and I see what's going on. I see why people have fallen into this. So what happens is they go through some kind of horrible, like ghosting, some kind of breakup. And when you go through a breakup, you want them to come back more than anything. You want them to say, I was mistaken. And so they go on, the readers tell them, oh, your person is thinking of you, or this person wants to come back, but they can't because da 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 da. Or here's what you need to do in order for your person to come back. And or they're like they tell people that they're with a karmic, a third party, or that there's some form of witchcraft put on them, and that's why they haven't come back yet. And so people will go and then they'll see confirmations. So like these readers will put next to them 2 2 2 2 1 1 1, 4 4 4, or a bunch of like animal sign symbols, like archetypes that could be seen. And they'll say things like, I'm hearing the song. And I don't know, it could be like Justin Bieber's baby. And, and like, they could be like, I know you love me. I know you care. And then people will be like, oh, it's confirmation. They do love me. They do care. I see 1 1 1 all the time. That's why they do love me. They do care. Whatever this reader is saying has to be true. And then they think that, it has to be true because other readers are saying similar things. And it's then, they'll pick out the parts that align with them, that or what readers say resonate with them. And they will take it as their person's going to come back. And they go through this hope loop over and over and over. And whenever the person doesn't come back, they're like, this is why you haven't done this work. Or they'll be like, you didn't believe in it enough. So people will come to me saying, blaming themselves for their person not being in their life because they didn't believe in it enough. They didn't have enough belief in their manifestation that their person would come back. So it's this horrible loop. When I don't think these readers, they don't,
Good
I don't,
Lord. I know. That's like, yeah, that's like it's ripe with the opportunity
predatory.
to like, yeah, exploit people and really mess with people. Yeah. I guess a question I would have is how does the coaching fuse with this stuff? And maybe you could talk a little bit about like validity in this because there's a lot of, like we kind of said before, it seems like there's a lot of room for exploitation of stuff or like some people to really do some damage by feeding a narrative to some person that's estranged from somebody they feel connected to, and then people getting them like you didn't do something hard enough. That's like really freaks me out, that idea. Because right away, like if I were to put myself in someone's shoes that felt like something had left my life, I know my own temperament and anger would take hold. I would get so angry that I was like, well, F you, God. You know what I mean? I'll invent a new way to get over this. My anger would probably carry me through to like not have to believe in that anymore and search otherwhere, somewhere else. But somebody who's kind of like in a depressed state and they're malleable and they're like an injured fawn that's being coaxed along with a story that's like slowly dosing them with poison, almost like, oh, they're out there. I would be the type, I think, and this is probably why I got nothing to do with this realm. I probably would be the type that'd be like, I'd be too reckless. I'd be like, you gotta get over it. You know what I mean? What if there's like some people got like 30 twin flames? You know what I mean? Maybe he's just about to meet number 18 or whatever, you know what I mean? Like I would just want to take a different thing that got to the point of getting past it. But at the same time, I definitely, I feel like most people know what serious loss is. I've had loss and I know what it's like to be in a time of like, I'm not just recklessly insincere or without compassion for somebody that's like longing, you know what I mean? Longing for something that's not there. I know those feels, but I do have a threshold where I get to where uh, if nothing's changing, I'll probably get like a little bit of aggressive about it and then decide like I don't want anything to do with that. At least that's how I used to do it. I'm a little different these days. I can accept things a lot more easily. But my modus for most of my life was like, well, then I hate that thing. You know what I mean? So that I don't have to cope or worry about it. But someone in your field, you've got these people coming your way, and how do you address these people? How do you attack this problem of people who are like coming from a world that's been messing with them a little bit? What do you say?
Well, first, I asked them to give up TikTok readings. I say, you've hired a coach now. I'll give you a reading whenever you want. I was like, you need a reading? I was like, you hit me up anytime. I'll send you a quick 1 minute reading. You can call me up. First, I asked them to give up TikTok readings because that anger thing that you just mentioned, right? Well,
Mhm.
you know, people, you would think they do get angry. They get furious. I've had people like completely furious, so done with it, so done with them, is what they say. But then they go back, if they go back onto TikTok and the TikTok confirms it again, they feel relief. It's like an abusive relationship.
Mm.
Like
Yeah. Oh,
it's
yeah. Seriously. Like it sounds a little bit, that's what I was thinking, is it sounds kind of like like a narcissistic kind of love bombing manipulation thing. You know what I mean?
yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. They'll even say that. They'll say like your twin could be a narcissist and they're learning how to heal from narcissism. Or they'll be like, is it a twin flame or is it a narcissist? So people come to me, they'll be like, yeah, I know my twin flame is like a covert narcissist and that's why they did this and
Oh,
that.
stop
And
saying twin flame. You know what I mean? Don't stop twinning yourself with like that's part of the problem is like they
but
said it 38 times. You know what I mean? Every night before bed they'd say, "Good night, twin flame." That's like you've been indoctrinated now, and now you can't separate the idea.
they can't get out of the idea of associating who they are with
Yeah.
that. And once you associate like your ego, once it identifies with the label, I can't just say to someone, I could never, like, it would damage them. I could never look at them and be like, you're not a twin flame. Are you crazy? I would never do that.
Yeah.
I could never do that. Like, because it would, I mean, well, if I've actually tried, I have tried like questioning people in like just like DMs and stuff about their twin flame journey. And if you do it, they get very defensive. And then they say, well, if you're saying that, then you're not a real twin flame. If you're a real twin flame, then you would get it because only real twin flames get it. So this like twin flame community is
Oh.
very like, they all are convinced
You
that
know what it reminds me of? I when I
what?
was in high school, there would be people who were like dressed all in black, like white the crow makeup, and listening to like death, sad romance, mortuary music. And they would be
Like,
like sad
no.
sacks, and I'd be like, get those damn things out of your ear. Stop listening to that on repeat. Like, you know what I mean? You're like basting your depression turkey
Yeah.
with like all this talk, you know, like and because it's fused to the identity at that point. It's like
Yeah.
if I lose this, I die. It's
Yeah.
become part of the
You're
survival
the other
system.
half of your soul. I mean, like literally, like
Yeah, yeah,
you are
it's
soul.
heavy.
That's the heaviest, like most intimate part of someone you can work with.
Yeah.
So where coaching comes in is it actually became an opportunity because you can very beautifully bridge because if they're willing to like love and forgive someone for the things that they've done to them to that extent and devote themselves for years. Like I've had people, the longest one I've had someone come to me 8 years.
No.
Yeah,
Oh no. That's a
they
movie. You get write it down and you'll get movie rights because that's so tragic, you know. 8 years I've been waiting for my twin flame to come back.
eight
You
years, and
know.
they
And I
wait
don't want to
and
be
wait.
mean, you know. I know relationships are, especially if it was like a healthy relationship, it didn't even hurt, you know.
That's longer than Ross and Rachel from Friends.
Yeah, it's
To keep it light, yeah.
but it's not their fault. Like that's the thing. Like I mean, I've worked with doctors, like therapists, you know,
Mhm.
like all kinds of occupations. Like it can happen to anyone,
Yes,
and
yeah, yeah,
that's
yeah.
that's the thing. Is like honestly, people they're victims. So bridging them over to Bhakti is actually easy because well, first of all, because the Hare Krishna mantra it it purifies the heart and mind. So obsessive thinking patterns stop as long when they chant or even just like saying it once with me will I watch them start to change The other thing is I teach them how to use prayer. So using the art of prayer, but I specifically use prayer from here. I actually think I have it. The Science of Mind. But this is like how to use the science of mind. It has prayers in it where because people are obsessed with like manifestation laws right now and all these different spiritual laws you can do to manifest things or to like bring. And so since they're obsessed with manifestation laws to bring their twin back, I teach them about the law of surrender, the law of faith,
Yeah,
the
balance
law
the
of
scale
oneness.
at least with some acceptance.
Exactly. Like it's like yeah. And I kind of bridge them over to Bhakti. I bridge them over to Krishna consciousness. And that's really how it started forming. Was I just noticed that once I let them, while also giving them an open space to talk free of judging them, because they can't go to their friends and family and tell them, hey, the other half of me is gone. Like TikTok is telling me this. I know it's real because I see the same numbers everywhere. And like they can't do that. Like that's, I mean, they could, but they tell me that their friends and family call them crazy.
It's actually such a fascinating puzzle from the level of puzzle. But I want to make a caveat here. Like I literally, like experientially understand longing and like, they're out there. I understand that. And like loss, like somebody that's gone now and you can't even get them back. That's a whole thing. Um, but but yeah, acceptance seems to be a good fix for this puzzle, right? But it must be frustrating sometimes when somebody's like they keep identifying back. They keep identifying back with this like lost narrative. It's like it's normal to feel sad about something, but you can eventually remember that like we're all doing our best here. Like it's not doing you any favors to have regret and be cycling through regret and guilt over and over again. Like you can let that go. And even if you can let that go, you go, yeah, but they were the best. They were the best to ever be. It's like you were okay before you didn't know them forever. And you were okay before they left. And you're narrowing them down beyond the complexity that they actually were. I guess what I'm trying to like say here is because I feel like I wish sometimes I was talking to some of these people and I'm not the person for it, but if I was, I would want to lead them to a gentle acceptance and a gratitude for what was there and away from guilt, or it's like, I promise you, you're always doing the best you can. That's it. I promise you, everybody, no matter what the mistake is, even if your enemy, everybody's doing the best they can. And life is full of things, and you've done your time. You grieved an appropriate amount of time, however much it was, and if you're ready to move on, like the idea would be, in my opinion, is exactly like what you're talking about, trying to explore acceptance. You know what I mean?
Yeah, taking them through ego purification is exactly what you're talking about, is basically what helps them undo that. People are pretty smart. Once you tell them the truth, they tend to get it. So like the process of bhakti was created to purify the ego. And releasing shame and guilt is one of those things. Because a lot of people start to blame themselves. They say that it's their fault that their twin flame isn't coming back, like I said, or it's their fault that they ever left in the first place because their twin flame told them that. The other thing is releasing anxiety, releasing obsessive thinking, releasing any thoughts that don't serve them, like protecting their mental household because they'll believe that their twin's thinking of them too. Or that another common one I've gotten is people saying that the third party or whoever their twin's with, because oftentimes their twin is with someone else, has put a spell on them. And so, like, a prayer to protect their mental household. I actually like a whole list. Distorted views, um, fear and doubt, forgiveness is a huge one. Um, Confusion, shock, and like PTSD episodes. Like PTSD is a huge one too because Well, so I was actually I'm very blessed. God healed me from complex post-traumatic stress disorder. But I meet people who go through this that are in CPTSD, like horrible cycles of CPTSD because of this. And I'm
Hmm.
fortunately I can identify it in them. I can see it. Um, so yeah, it's slowly helping them come into remembrance of themselves before their twin came into their life. Before all, I mean, and really, what's cool is that every once in a while I get a client who didn't have a twin, but it's to return them to their original state of consciousness, their Krishna consciousness, Christ consciousness, people call it, but that time, like before conditioning. And then, I love them. I live for the day someone goes, you know what? Maybe they're not my twin. Maybe this twin flame thing really messed me up.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
that's when I'm like,
yeah.
this is why I do this. Like,
Angels just had an orchestra broke out in Jubilee because you
right,
said
right.
that. They're like, oh shit, now I believe in alien angels. It's like,
Yeah.
hang on.
No, but I know what you mean. It's so awesome. It's like there's some weird verse in the Bible that like every time a Christian gets saved, the angels rejoice or something. But I'm not a Christian, but I'm saying sometimes it feels like that when somebody makes a turn towards healthy thinking. You know what I mean?
Oh, it's
It's like it's
exhilarating. I
awesome.
gotta be honest. The first, like when I get people to chant the mantra, it's so hard not to cry every single time. I get a high off coaching. I mean, I get a Krishna conscious coaching
Yeah.
high.
So many people, I
I,
wish they could see that going into it, like the excitement and the relief and the freedom and for all kinds of things. Like even if it's like weird political views or whatever, when somebody's like, maybe this, and then it's like, welcome to the fold. It's
I get to
okay.
watch that all the time. I really get to watch people, or like, like they'll be like, well, maybe that thing my mother said about me wasn't true. Or maybe,
Yeah.
like, or they'll be like, oh, my favorite is when they start to watch their prayers like come true.
Yeah.
Or like, so I don't do manifestation, we do co-creations. So when they say something like, I'm free from anxiety now. And I have them always keep these lists of truths. And we'll do a ton of them, and I'll have them read them a few months later, they'll go back, we'll read them, and they'll all be true. And like watching that list of truths come into
Whoa.
being is like, it's like, I mean, it's incredible.
I
It's
wish I
incredible.
still did it sometimes. Like I used to write all this stuff down. Go figure. By the time you like recognize the power of it, it's like, oh, I don't really need to do that. But I used to write all this stuff down, and then you go back and you're like, it's shocking how much that stuff actually ends up happening.
Yeah,
Like
it's
weird
amazing.
goals, you're like, I forgot I even wrote that as a goal. How is that
Yeah.
in there? You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah. I'm glad you actually are familiar with the process. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's so many of them are things that like, and so they'll learn what they can control and what they can't control. And it turns out that they can control a lot, but it's not what they thought they wanted to control, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
And so the other thing is another really huge term in this so-called like twin flame community is surrender. And they say, oh, you need to surrender to the process. You need to surrender to the process. And people will come to me and they'll be like, I've surrendered, so many times. And I'm like, you poor, not another one, you poor guy. And so, but what's really cool is that the Bhagavad Gita, it's all about like Krishna, Arjuna surrendering to Krishna, and Krishna explaining to Arjuna that all he has to do is surrender unto him. And so it's just another form of teaching them to surrender in a way that's actually going to have results. So ultimately, it's taking them, bringing them into the present moment by helping them release the past, any painfulness from the past, and releasing any expectations of the future based on fear and anxiety. And that's the process. That's how I help them come to calm, clear minds. And then they get to work on things that actually make them happy in life. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Sounds like a total like an entryway gate into a whole thing, so many things. Like I'm non-religious. We just reacted to something before this that was all about Hindu gods, and I'm kind of an asshole, so I'm like, well, like I always say, like I don't believe any of this shit. But the one thing I'll say is like there's a reality. I noticed that there's a reality to certain things. Like I would see weird clips of like Osho. You know who Osho is? He was like a enlightened teacher back in the
Yes.
80s.
Yeah.
But he would get his
devotees to like spin in circles and stuff like that and express themselves and do all this dynamic stuff. And even when I see something like that, or prayer beads, or speaking in tongues, or glossolalia, I go, the normal person who's not has no experience with spirituality coming into this, who's essentially like insane from modern culture. Some of these things really do when you have no other way. Like it's not enough to start somebody off with, be the Buddha. Just be the Buddha right away. Like let go of everything and be totally enlightened. Like what are you doing? So some of these people practices that you can get them, they lead them towards some relief so that they actually know relief is possible and that like manifestation is possible and they get reconnected with both control and surrender in dosed, measured, progressive ways. Does that make sense? You guys follow
Absolutely.
me?
So I actually don't practice Hinduism, which people are kind of confused by. I practice the science of self-realization, the science of loving God. So like the Bhagavad Gita, though people associate it with Hinduism, it makes it very clear that real religion is a path to loving God. We're here to remember the love of God. We're here to remember that we were never separate from God, that He's always been within us, seated within us, as the super soul, as Krishna, as a supreme personality of Godhead. And that's why we're here. And so that's why anyone can work with me, is because it is the science of self-realization. That's why my coaching program works, is because just like with anything else, like with science, it's like if you do this, this, and this is the result. With people, if you give them the mantra, have them offer their food, and have them do some form of prayer and watch their prayers work, every single time they're going to heal. Every single time they're going to come into remembrance of themselves. Every time. There's never a single time that my coaching program hasn't worked, because I follow what the Gita says, and I've read all of Prabhupada's books, like every single one of them. And Swami Prabhupada he brought the Krishna consciousness movement here in the 1980s.
Started at the Hare Krishnas?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what they refer to. So I'm not part of ISKCON. I'm not part of any of that. This is all based on what Krishna himself came and showed me and introduced to me.
Hmm.
So yeah, it's not even a religion. I would take an atheist. Like I work with anyone. I mean, I can't wait for the day an atheist wants to work with me.
You have such an interesting mix with I've never met anyone who is kind of doing tarot while at the same time introducing people to Krishna consciousness, reading the Bhagavad Gita.
I love it. It's so 2026.
Yeah, such an interesting mix. Do you ever get pushback from people who come onto your channel about like, hey, you can't use that while doing tarot and
Haters. Old school
like
traditional haters types.
yeah.
Well, actually, I've gotten more support than anything. What really I get the most is people trying to correct me. So they'll like use like really big Sanskrit words, or they'll use like the like science terms, like quantum physics terms. I mean, I'm familiar with all of it. Like, I went through like I love the science of God. So I love some God, quantum physics and stuff like that. So they'll really go off and try to sound smarter than me. It's kind of
You're like,
weird. Like,
hey, I'm coaching you, man.
yeah, it's actually really weird. Like that, like they'll leave like paragraphs of comments being like, well, actually, the blah, 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 blah. And I kind of just let those go.
Sounds like you got it
Um,
then. I don't know what's going on
yeah.
here.
Is there a science to tarot?
So there is. Oh yeah. So I mean, if you want to look at what I do is in tarot, I work with so most people when they're reading from their experience, but by surrendering, I'm reading from the collective unconscious or the collective unconscious mind. So, but I don't know what someone's gone through, right? I don't know them personally, but when you read from the collective unconscious, that information is stored there somewhere. So it mirrors, the cards will mirror their consciousness, essentially. Um, and that's what you read from.
Do you ever have to
And
filter the collective unconscious? Is the collective unconscious ever like inappropriate? Like you know what I mean? Like I'm so fascinated with the idea of the collective unconscious, but if it exists, it's a cloud of chaos sometimes, probably.
so I don't believe in like I don't have a collective, I have no authority over it. I'm not like claiming that. The people say they have a collective, but the collective unconscious is like like it's I do. If I have clients that are, and it comes up in the cards, then yeah, I do have people some inappropriate stuff. Like I've had to look at people, and I had to be like, look, we got to work on your porn addiction. It's real. I
Oh,
really had to do that. I really do that, or I'll be like, or I'll be like, you think you've worked through the trauma of your mother trying to stab you, but you haven't. Like really intense stuff. And luckily, Hare Krishna that I surrendered to Krishna because I wouldn't have been able to do that. Like me on my own, if I'm not in devotional service, I couldn't do stuff like that. I had to really gently filter it.
stop eating cheesecake over the sink like a rat.
I mean, I really
It's probably not that specific, but honestly, that
it
probably
gets
keeps
that
people,
specific. That's the
isn't
thing,
it?
but
Good
it
Lord.
does. I
That
think
probably
it's
freaks people out. Like when I was a kid, despite the fact that I was like a Christian anyway, that I was always like, I would never go to a fortune teller lest they be real. And like, because I remember I did actually, there was a church near us, like a temporary, like a carnival type church came through town. And that one of the lady that was like a preacher there, she would like read your fortune or some shit. I don't, it's hard to remember.
A prophetess or
She was like a
something.
prophetess, and I was like a 12-year-old or something, like preteen at the time. And I remember she was like saying some personal stuff about me that hit close to home. And I was like, it was amazing. Like it was mesmerizing. But that kind of thing, like who doesn't have like some, I saw you, you blamed that fart on somebody else in the elevator the other day. Like, you know what I
yeah,
mean?
like the
Nobody
Barnum
doesn't have
effect.
something embarrassing.
Yeah, so most readers, I'm not gonna lie, most readers, they really do read that like that. Because of me doing it in devotional service as a devotee, I do tend to get more specific than what other people would. That's why my readings, if you were to watch mine versus like another person's, they sound different. Because that's the difference though, combining it with Krishna consciousness versus just saying you're a tarot card reader. So it's because I'm doing it as a loving offering to God. So before each and every reading I have with someone, before every session, it doesn't matter how long I've known them, I do an offering for them, and I do an offering for to God. I do my prayers. I do all of it before every post I do online. I pray that it goes to only those who it'll serve. So that way I'm not causing any confusion and delusion. So I've never had anyone. So that's why like my readings come out. They come out different. I, like people are like, they talk about how tarot is evil. Honestly, sometimes, yeah, I do. After all this work, after like all these years and watching these tarot card readers and like what they've done to people, I do kind of think it can be a little evil if it's not
Whoa.
done with love and devotion. I
Mhm.
really do. I don't think everyone has the right to be doing divination. I
Mhm.
really, truly don't. Because if your soul doesn't have a bath to take every day, like if you're not going through purification, your soul, like you could very easily project onto also just like project onto other people like these another like problem aside from readers are twin flame coaches, like coaches that say that specifically they're there to coach people into twin flame union. I've never met any of them actually in union.
Mm.
So it's slash serious. Like I've talked to coaches and I'll be like, so are you in union? And they'll talk about like how they coach people into union. They're not in union. I don't understand how you can coach someone into something that you're not in. It doesn't make any sense.
There's a show called, and it's based on this guy went on a podcast and through over a podcast series, he told this story and they made it into a show with Will Ferrell. I think it's called The Shrink Next Door. And this is a true story. This guy went to see a shrink in the 80s or whatever, and he was with this shrink. He was like a lonely, socially awkward guy, and he was with this shrink for, I don't know, over decades, like 30 years or something by the end. And this uh, therapist had extracted like millions of dollars out of this guy by essentially keeping him sick. You know what I mean? Like, you're not ready. You're not ready for the. I don't know why I'm doing Trump, but he'd be like, "You're not ready," and so you got to keep coming. And then he like insidiously weaseled his way into this poor guy's life and like ruined it. Took him, made him get away from his family's influence and stuff like that,
Oh my
and
gosh.
made him sick. And so the same sort of thing with somebody that's like,
That's
I'm leading you to your twin flame. You're
yeah.
still sick, and I'm helping you. That's totally people. People can't
Yeah,
believe that there's people like that out there.
thousands of dollars. Listen, I have one guy. He would, I hope he never sees this because he'll know, but $200,000. He got
Uh,
scammed out of $200,000 from a psychic who
Oh,
promised him
yeah.
that, yeah,
And it happens
$200,000
slowly and progressively, and
over a period of a year. He
wow.
sold one of his second house to pay her. Yeah.
mm,
I've had people get because people who suffer from addiction, especially, they can get addicted to psychics. People get addicted to psychics.
oh
It
yeah.
is it's yeah, it's people like claiming like yeah, people get really addicted to their readers, to their psychics,
You can get addicted
and
to anything. You can get
you
addicted
can.
to
Well, I
freaking
gotta ask,
anything.
with the ability to have such a power on people to exploit people, what do you do to kind of like ground yourself and protect yourself from all that?
I pray to stay humble every day. There is not a single day that I do not like stay humble. Are you asking what I do to protect myself, or what
Well,
I
yeah, both. Like, because as a coach, right, there's no matter how strong we are, there's always temptation, right? To just get one more reading out of someone, right?
think.
Like, I'm just
Oh, I
curious
have a
from.
coach myself too. I have a coach. He's great. He doesn't
Mm.
coach Krishna consciousness. He's a life coach. But he keeps me in check. He really does. I talk to him about all my clients, and he keeps me humble. I think I mean, that's another thing. Like, and that's how it is in like any spirit, like any proper
Accountability.
accountability. Yeah, yeah. Like, like you shouldn't be a guru if you didn't have a guru. It's the same thing, in my opinion. I don't believe people should be coaching if they themselves haven't experienced coaching. And that's my professional opinion. The other thing is praying to stay humble, praying to only speak the truth, praying to never. I mean, I practice what I preach, and that's the only way. I read scripture every day. I mean, I pray probably like a couple hours a day. I do prayers for other people, mainly because I love it, not even because like I'm like like I'm not like bowing down with like my mala beads and like chanting like Hail Mary or anything like that. It's not. It's I just I mean, I do prayers that I will enjoy watching coming true. So whoever I'm working with, if I know they've been obsessing over like their twin, for example, I'll write out a prayer for them to like come to me. I'll be like, I pray for the next time we come together for them to say that, they have been thinking about them less, or they haven't thought about them at all, depending on however I
Prayer a
feel
lot
when
of
they
time is like setting an intention in some way. Like I don't pray much anymore, but when I was like I learned prayer as a Christian, and I did so much of it that even after I was like just like stopped praying, I'll catch myself involuntarily like in a prayer type thing, and then instead of being like, "Whoa, no praying," I just let it finish up and then I move on with my life because it's so second nature. But that's from like Christian indoctrination. That's not the same thing as what we're talking about. But I sometimes I notice that what a prayer is like a kind of just an intention towards something good.
There's the law of intention's a spiritual law. It's a very real thing, the law of intention. And I think that's where really the root of it starts, is that with me being a devotee, like this is the practice of love and devotion. Bhakti is the practice of love and devotion. So that practice in of itself is setting the intention of staying good. I've never had to face a temptation because I mean I've always been a sweet girl, honestly. I've never been faced with temptation, but I definitely would not, I mean, I could definitely see where no one's ever asked me this. I could definitely see where, like,
Like a
like,
Jafar, like some guy that's like cosmic power, like that. Is that what you're
yeah,
talking
yeah,
about?
yeah, it's true. But though, like because of the way I do it, people really trust me. And so instead of being freaked out when I say things, like when I, like, they're like, instead of like, "Whoa, how'd you know that?" They're like, they just don't really say anything. They'll be like, "Wow, it's crazy that you say that," or, "How did you know?" Well, if they ask me how I did know it, I say I'm just a loving devotee of the Lord, because that's true. Like I didn't know it. I'm just a loving servant of God, and I'm just doing my job, and that's it.
When you guys first started talking about like I think the theme of it was like could it be evil or something like that. My mind went to like Like you know all those horror movies, the Annabelle horror movies, the what are the
Yeah.
that couple or whatever that are like
God, those
famous.
are traumatizing. But yes.
I'm not going to go too deep, but like in the movies, they always feature, and this was a real life thing, that they collected all the artifacts from the exorcisms they went to.
Yeah, yeah.
So they'd have like a room, and they're like, "We keep it locked." I was like, "Are you kidding? I would never live in a house with all that, you know." And I wonder sometimes people that like turn off the camera after like crazy synchronicity, tarot readings or ghost hunters or something. Like, how do you know a ghost didn't follow you home? Like, I have tarot decks in my house, but the way I combat being spooked out at night when it's dark and I'm going to the washroom is I don't like entertain thoughts like that very much. You know what I mean? Like, I don't
Right.
sit there and, but I imagine somebody whose whole thing is like, oh, you got three demons on your shoulder. Let me exercise those real quick. Like, how do you turn it off at night? How do you not be like, what was that? You know what I mean? Like,
Well,
how do you
honestly,
not
like
end up being superstitious?
everything being a loving offering to Krishna. So like all my tarot decks. Well, first of all, I don't get the decks that like because I've had some decks that are like kind of creepy, like they're like pretty intense. I get decks off Etsy that people hand make, and so they're like really pretty, really sweet decks. And I always offer my whenever I get a new deck, I offer it to Krishna first. So I just don't even think about them like that. They're honestly just like a it's just like a my box of cards that I have chilling in my house.
I
I don't
didn't
even think
even
about it
think of
anymore.
that. I like have the Aleister Crowley tarot deck and the weird hermetic one that's black and white, but I didn't even think about like a fan's deck. You know what I mean? Like, poorly drawn asymmetrical images on it. You're like, what did you do with this deck before you gave it to me?
Yeah.
So anyway, I was curious about kind of the new age. You've got your little slogan there, helping people out of new age delusions there. And it's weird because I've looked for people to be like guests on the show before who are specifically from the new age. It is impossible to find anyone who puts their hand up and says, "I'm a part of the new age movement."
I represent the new age.
Yeah, I
I don't. It
represent the
might
new
not
age.
be any.
I can't find those people. They don't exist. But there's like oodles of content of create Christians attacking the New Age. There's lots of anti-New Age content out there, but I can't find anyone who's actually would say I'm there. Now,
Right.
like for you, is there like what's your opinion on the New Age? Are there because I see it as like there's like anything. There's good things about the New Age and there's bad things about the New Age. Like so
Whatever it
like
is.
yeah. So whatever it is, if you can actually like, pinpoint it down to something. But anyway, I'll let you jump in. Let us know what you think.
So the New Age movement was started in the 1980s. It popped up out of nowhere. There's no starter, there's no founder of the New Age movement, which is pretty suspicious. Which is just like I find it suspicious. I don't like believe in like the devil or anything, but if there is a Satan, it's the New Age movement. Like,
Oh,
um,
whoa, strong
but like,
words.
for real, like it well mainly because it's not even like a religion. It's just like a bunch of very like abstract ideas coming together claiming that like making like I mean it's not even the science part of it isn't even like the complete science of it. Like, people are talking about Neville Goddard left and right. I mean like I have like I don't know if you know of Neville Goddard, but you know I've
Definitely
read
heard of
this
Neville
book. Like
Goddard.
this book is
Definitely.
a core like is one of the core foundations of my coaching program, and it's all about a personal relationship with God. It's all about the law of faith. It's all about using your power of awareness but mixing it with like your love for God, like the Bible. And they're talking about it like he was some impersonal philosopher. And so I think like that in of itself is like really weird. But if you want to find a new ageist, right, you find coaches. Go for spiritual life, like spiritual life coaches, twin flame coaches. Um, I could send you links to some of them. If you can get interviews with them, I would love it. I would watch the heck out of it because, like, I can't get away from these people. I mean, you say you can't find them, I can't get away from them.
But
So,
do they
like,
But
call?
yeah, would they call themselves? Would they say, "Oh yeah, I'm part of the New
Well, you
Age"?
know what they say. The greatest trick the devil ever played was literally not existing.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. That's not how it goes. People say the greatest trick the devil ever played was convincing everyone he didn't exist. But what's more three-dimensional chess than not even existing at all?
they say they'll be like, I'm spiritual but not religious. It's
Mm.
like what
Yeah.
that.
That's like
Uh,
everyone. That's like everyone could get thrown into that basket, you know?
So you see what I'm saying? Like a quote unquote new ageist, I mean, there's no like real position for that. Like I'm a devotee, I got it. I got this. I got it down. It is a position. There's like, it's the Bhagavad Gita is 5,000 years old. It talks about being a devotee. But
Yeah.
people are making up all kinds of titles for themselves. Like, what's one a recent one I've heard? Embodiment coach. They teach you how to embody your one true self or, um,
Well, if no one's
yeah,
going to take up the mantle of New Age, there's an opportunity there. Somebody out there could be like, I'm the president
king,
of New Age.
the New Age movement.
And you can't
Man,
really help what
wow.
labels people can give
Maybe
you
I should
sometimes.
stop. I should stop this movement and do that instead.
And just write a holy book and say, and then it's yours, you got it.
They really could. Don't give
New
anyone any.
Ageism.
Yes. That's really true. Well, that's actually like the things like I don't know if you've heard of like light workers, starseed children, indigo children, all this stuff, but
Yeah,
like
yeah.
it's like the people who, push that. But yeah, no one has actually I mean, there are a lot of people on TikTok that claim they're prophets or chosen ones. That's
Right.
all over the place. But yeah, no one's like an actual like wow, this is something I haven't thought about. Yeah, no one's like I'm new age. No one says I'm a new
I
age.
feel like it's more of a movement of this is why I don't give it too much of a hard time, is because I feel like it was more of a time like in the early 80s, late 70s, where people were kind of becoming more liberated out of dogmatic religious practice and they were feeling more free to express themselves spiritually in whatever way they found intuitively comfortable for themselves. And I almost like an expansion off of the hippie movement, maybe.
And they
Yeah,
just
And
yeah.
called it they just blanketed
yeah,
it all together and called it the New
yeah,
Age
I
movement.
think the term New Age, I think, came from religious groups saying they're New Age because they don't believe the same thing that we believe, and they're all wishy-washy with their spirituality, and they just do whatever they
So
want.
it's like a category you get accused of being because I mean look at how quick people are to like get upset because you're just not saying it quite the right way. You picked up that Neville Goddard book and you're like if I heard you right, it sounded like you were like there's parts of this where he literally like encourages you to be like a devoted Christian or something. But it's crazy if you don't say a proper sequence of things, you find yourself divided among like hey, we all believe in Jesus like if it was Christians, it's
Yeah,
like don't we all believe in this? Yeah, but you got to say it in the exact precise way, or you get categorized as
yeah, yeah.
New Age or
Yeah.
something.
See, like
It's
with saying like new age illusions, it's just, I mean, actually kind of like what you said, it's just generalizing like all of these things that are being thrown around TikTok and like what else you're gonna call it.
right.
Yeah.
I could even like consider it like spiritual illusions, but I mean, yeah, it's just all these abstract like so-called like spiritual ideas that aren't really spiritual. So it's like and now like with illusions, it's like people obsessive manifestation culture. So like people trying to obsessively manifest like money before they think to manifest happiness, like things like that. So yeah, when I go from like to say from like new age illusions to Krishna consciousness, it's mainly from like what the internet is claiming to be like trendy spirituality.
Well, it sounds like
And
you've identified a place where people are getting exploited and you're calling it out and which I think is a good thing.
Yeah,
I think you're trying to help people
I
here.
like that you're careful because I'm not a very careful person, and I've heard other spiritual teachers talk about like you can't just say things sometimes because it can destabilize people. Like I'm kind of the person that's like we're at the top of the water slide. You're gonna love it. Go down. It's fun. You put your arms up. Let go. But some person, you get them to do that, and they're gonna like they'll hurt themselves going down that. Like, why did you fucking, what I mean, claw with your toenails into the thing on your way down? You could have just enjoyed it. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like some people are not ready and they need like a compassionate person to like entertain their different ideas a little bit. And
yeah. Well,
so,
especially, well, there are people like who, I mean, I think always, I don't think there's like one great mass awakening. I think there's just people have steered away because a lot of people are like pretty traumatized by Christianity and organized religion. So that's like why, again, I'm like, hey, I'm not a religion. I'm not like an organized religion. This is a path of religion, path of loving God is religion. But it's a massive amount of people that now have like are awakening to the remembrance of them being themselves, not being a body, but being a soul, and having nowhere to go, nowhere to turn. And everyone's already been on social media. They go on TikTok and they're like, this is spirituality. This is what I've been, because anyway, as a soul, we naturally want to find the truth. We naturally want to know who we are, why we're here. So if someone on TikTok starts saying like, hey, you're the chosen one, and this is how you know, you're going to be like, yeah, I am the chosen one. I have a lot of people come to me saying that they believe they're a chosen one. Like a lot.
What a
Like
new
so
world
many.
of spirituality. Isn't it crazy here in 2026? You've got all these groups popping up and new ideas. It's wild.
Yeah, it's wild.
So, Ivy, I just want to say thanks so much for being on the show. It was great having you as a guest. One of the things we like to do at the end of our show is give our guests kind of a final say. So, if you have like one overarching message, which you've kind of already talked about, but if you want to kind of summarize it up and let our audience know about it, everyone who's watching, we'll give you the floor now. You can do that. And then maybe after you're done doing that, you can let everyone know where they can find you, what you got going on, and all that good stuff.
No, I mean, I guess first of all, thank you guys so much for doing this with me. I really appreciate it. And thank you for like letting me express my voice, and be careful, like don't accept things with blind faith. And if you're going to do something, do it with love, do it with devotion. And if you want to work with me, I mean, just what do you guys do? Like link my
Sure. Yeah.
TikTok or something. Yeah, it's at Krishna Conscious Coaching,
Yeah.
and I would love to work with literally anyone. It doesn't have to be, but the twin flame thing specifically, like if you're going through the twin flame problem, I have coaches that I've coached into coaching that also specifically do this. Like I have a whole team of coaches that would love to work with you. So if you've been a victim of the twin flame journey, please reach out to me. And if I'm not even a good fit, I have other coaches that may even be a better fit. So yeah, and Hare Krishna.
Yeah. Krishna.
Hare
Go
Krishna.
find her. Go see what she's about.
Thank you. This was awesome, Ivy. Thanks for
Yeah,
being
thank you
here.
so much. Thank you guys so much.